You're tuned in to Just One Hot Mom with host Nanika Ansari. Get ready. She's about to bring you that fire, that flavor, that heat, all that passion, and more from around the world and in your neighborhood. Stay tuned.
Hotties, you are tuned into Just One Hot Mom. I am your host, Nanika Ansari, and I am on today with Darrick Godbott, and we are talking about love lost, losing a child, part two. If you recall earlier, I had his wife Carissa on, and she gave us the mother's perspective. But because it is the month of June and we are featuring all things daddy, why not get Darrick's perspective as well? So, hey, Darrick.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I'm glad you're here today. And Kristen told me, she was like, nobody ever gets the father side of the story. And you know what? I never even thought about you know what I'm saying? Like asking, because we just expect dads to be an emotional support, but you have a story to tell as well.
Oh yes, it's from the father side. We go through a lot, but it's we still have to be stay strong and support the family.
All right. So how excited were you when you found out you were having twin boys?
Very excited. Actually, before me and Carissa actually got married, we proclaimed it. We was talking one night. I think it was a bad thunderstorm. The lights went out, and we were just talking. And I said I want to have a daughter first name Emma, and I want twin boys. And they'd be Derek the second and Douglas James. And this was like over 5, 6 years ago before they was even conceived.
Wow. See, I'm telling you, you guys speak things into existence like they already were. You never know. God has his own plan for each and every one of us. So, Emma was born and she had a cleft lip palate. Were you concerned, or were you guys concerned when she was pregnant with the twins about there being any type of issue?
No, actually, we just believe that they'd be just fine. We went to the ultrasounds every week. We trust the doctor say they was fine, so we just continue and I just did good practice of um, keeping up with all the appointments, keeping up with all the things that my wife Chris is supposed to have. So we was stayed praying because we know anything can happen. All the tests was
Mhm.
passed, so we just had faith in that everything be okay.
Okay, so take us back to that moment when Carissa goes into labor. What was your reaction? Like, were you nervous? Were you scared? How did you initially react?
All right, when we were scheduled for the C session,
Okay.
like overjoyed, you know. No, Carissa, she's I felt so bad for her because she was pregnant with these boys, can barely move,
Yeah, you don't have no little babies over there. No little
right.
babies.
She had a new car, she couldn't drive it. It was like I just felt so bad for her. And but the day of the C session, when we went to the room, I mean we was all excited, can barely sleep the night before. We probably showed up like an hour early.
Like a
Um,
kid on Christmas, huh? Like, yes, it's about to
yeah,
go down.
yeah, got my boys, So it was a joyous, happy occasion.
So Carissa described for us like she's laying on the bed, they're doing the C-section, and they pull the baby out, and there's obviously something wrong. She can kind of read it on your face. In that moment, what were you thinking? Like, if you could go back to that moment, what were you thinking when you discovered there may be an issue with Darrick?
Okay, but when she was doing the C-section, when they pulled Derek out first, um, they when they pulled him out, they brought him towards me. Then they looked at him, and they rushed him to another room. And that one, I knew something was wrong, but they kept on telling me it was okay. So at that point in time, they wanted me to stay out the other room, but I just walked. I walked in the room myself. 'Cause I wanted to see my son.
Mm-hmm.
Then I exited the room, and I could see with my own eyes it was something wrong. Then I
Mm-hmm.
came out. to watch Douglas James come out. My mind, I was worried, but I just trust the doctor because God put him here for a reason. And I was
Mm-hmm.
concerned about my wife because we take it for granted about C-section being routine. No, I need my wife, so I was
Mm-hmm.
worried about her, and I was still concerned about Derek, but I had to focus on what I had control over, and that
Oh,
was
I'm so
watching
glad you
Carissa.
said that. You have to focus on what you have control over because so often we think that we control things that we don't have any control over. And so we take our focus off of what we're supposed to be focused on. In that moment, Carissa, I know for a fact she needed you. And so when you get a break from Carissa and you actually get to talk to the doctors about Derek, what was the information they were giving you?
Well, when I knew it wasn't good when they went and found the doctor that we was closest to, Dr. Collins. He real close to our family, and he came downstairs. And it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was so it was hard for them because they actually went
Mm-hmm.
to talk to us. And when I saw him in the hallway, I knew something was wrong. The feelings were just over over. It was just overwhelming. I was worried about how I'm gonna tell my wife. Um, After the discussion, I told my family, the family that was there, and I couldn't even get the words out without breaking down. And it's rare that I cry or break down in front of a group of people, but it just took me through so many ways of emotions. But then also, I also had to put in perspective that I have to be strong and hold fast, just hold fast to my feelings because my wife, she's medicated. She don't know what's going on, and I don't want to send her to any shock.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, do you think sometimes though that we expect our men to be too strong? Like in that moment when you were finding out what was going on, you know what I'm saying? Like in that moment, as a mother, I know I would have totally lost it and broke down, but you're still focused in on being strong. Do you think that sometimes we as a community don't allow fathers to have those moments where they could just totally break down and show their emotions?
yes, that's true. We expect it to be the foundation. We expect to be our family Superman. We expect it. The expectation is held very high, but the way the way I was brought up, you have to meet them. Sometimes you have to exceed them, but you still need that moment because if
Mm-hmm.
you're not stable in that situation, and situations comes like that, you worthless. So yes, we held to that standard, but that's the role you're given when you become a man.
Okay, because I mean, we were just talking. I think the other day I was talking about with a couple guys, and I was just saying, like, wouldn't it be nice if we as the women could see you guys be vulnerable in a moment where we feel like we can be vulnerable, and so I was like wondering what can we do as women to encourage you to express your feelings, especially in a time when we both are hurt.
It it's depend on your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some couples cry together. I mean, it's therapy, it's nature. Some people, um, in the time of in a time of bereavement or in the time of despair, they laugh together. It's depend on your relationship and how the chemistry that you have with your husband, with the man have with his wife. It is and those times gonna come. Me and my wife cried together before we even had kids. It been times that at Emma surgeries that, matter of fact, it was times that in little Derrick surgeries that we actually laughed. We was laughing together, but it wasn't laughing at the situation. It was a laughing of comfort to let us know that
Mm-hmm.
to, to get us through. And so everybody had their own chemistry, their own thing they do, but to be to express your feelings, it's you should be that comfortable with your wife. You're supposed to be. That's the way that what a partner is. So that
Mm-hmm.
relationship gotta grow, and you gotta make that okay. You can't look at your husband soft because he cry, and a husband you can't look at yourself. A man can't look at himself as as being weak because he can't handle the moment right now.
I'm so glad you said that though, because I think the person you should be able to be vulnerable with is the one that you chose to be with for the rest of your life. You should be able to show them your emotions and they be accepting of that. So I asked Carissa this question. I'm going to ask you, what were your conversations with God like when little Derrick was going through his battle?
The conversation, your conversation change as you understand what's going on. My conversation, over the 52 days, my conversation with God constantly just changed. Like every experience I grew into, every day I grew, the conversation changed, and the understanding of what's going on grew spiritually and mentally to help to a point where we had to make the decision to let him go. Um, my first conversation, it wasn't why. It's it's it was more that I know what you can do. I know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. I know you prepared us for this, but where? Because a lot of times God prepare you to go through things and you don't remember when or where. So you really got in those times when you get a moment, you got to look back said and let you know like, all right, God, you prepared me, but where at? Then you find that moment, then you draw the strength from there because he ain't gonna put. We all a man. We human, and we just like a bridge or a scale. We have a capacity where we can handle. And God is not going to put that extra weight on you. If the capacity on a scale is 500 pounds, you can't put 600 on it. So that's the way you grow in the conversation and your conversation is going to develop because the more every day you go through it, the stronger you're going to get, and the more you're going to understand spiritually why God put you in the position.
You just made a profound statement. Like, God doesn't give us more than we can handle. He's built you for this. So whatever you went through in the past has prepared you for the future. I think sometimes we tend to forget that. I know even myself, when you just said that, I was like, whoa. It just brought me back to the space like God has already prepared you for what you're supposed to do. It's just that you tend to forget that he's prepared you. Okay, Derek, you about to take us to church. I can already tell right now. I mean, I had to stop and think like, whoa, like, you know what I'm saying? Like when when you're in the process, you don't think like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you just think like I think most of the time we think like, Lord, why me? Why is this happening to me? And we don't think that God, you've given this to me because you've already prepared my heart, you've already prepared my mind. And so I'm ready for this. Okay, Derek, like I'm trying to find the next question. So when when little Derek passed away, what helped you in coming to terms with the fact that he was going to pass?
um, we still have really had a lot of hope and faith that he was going to pull through. We stayed prayed, we fast, um, we had a great support system, um, and our support system was uh, besides first of all God and the Word and the guidance. Our support system was the second biggest factor, and the support system was people that we didn't even think of. Um, we would get messages from we even got messages from Africa from women we didn't know because my wife shared the story. We people that I even never even met was give us support. So our support system was awesome. Our immediate support system and the support system that just read the stories that my wife was tell her story through her blog.
And do you feel that sometimes though people ignore the fact that you had a story to tell because it was so prevalent? Like Carissa has her she has her blog to tell the story. I know she did a couple interviews. Do you feel that sometimes though that your story was overlooked in the midst of going through this process?
Yes, it was. I'm gonna say it was overlooked because the people that saw my story was the closest to me. Now, a lot of times we have to find purpose in the pain or any adversity we go through, and to share it. Um, a lot of time as fathers and as a man, we lack sharing our experience unless it's something silly or macho. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so um, to be able to share the story is what you're supposed to do, and what lacking with um, with males nowadays, with men and fathers. But the story going untold, we often depend on the people that was there to tell our story, where they really don't know all the feelings.
Hmm.
If you
And so
follow what
I
I'm saying.
can, yeah, I follow what you're saying. Like, I can appreciate you being expressive like that, because so often we don't hear men express how they actually feel, and in that moment, how they actually feel. Like, it's like, man, I'll be all right. But sometimes you're not all right. And I think that's why we have these instances of relationships growing apart, people going outside of the marriage because you're not able to have a conversation and to say, I'm not having a good day today, and I need you to stand in the gap for me. Like, we always talk about ladies standing in the gap for each other, but sometimes you got to stand in the gap for your man too. So,
Exactly. That's
so
that's actually kind of funny you said stand in the gap, because um, yesterday a Rocky marathon was on, one of my favorite movies, and I was telling Carissa one of my favorite conversations that helped me understand relationships was from Rocky 1 or 2, where Paulie asked Rocky, "Why do you want to marry my sister?" And Rocky said, "Because of the gaps," and he didn't understand. And Rocky kind of explained in his own way that I have gaps, she have gaps, and together we can fill them in. So it's funny that you said that.
see, and I was thinking about that because I was thinking about when I talked to Carissa before and I posted in the group. I think Carlise is the one we can credit for the picture, but it's you two holding hands. It's like a blurry picture, but you two are like walking off together and you're holding hands. And I was like telling Carissa, I was like, that's how I knew that she was going to be okay. Sometimes we as women, we worry about our friends, whether or not they have a man that is actually supporting them, because we're not in the midst of your relationship. But in that picture, when I saw you two walking off together, I'm like, okay, Darrick is there. He's supporting her. But then I was like, I could have thought about it in the reverse too. Like, she's there and she's supporting Darrick. You both had each other's backs. So kudos to you guys for winning at that. And she told us, like, you guys, you had some rough patches. During those rough patches, what helped you stay focused on this is my wife?
um, that's a it's just the way I was raised. We had a lot of I had a lot of positive. I got to see a lot of positive marriages in my life. I saw bad marriages, but growing up, I saw within the church the positive marriage and the way a marriage should be um, to work. And just the way I was raised, my grandparents was a great example of a marriage. A lot of our church members was a great example. I was kind of raised different. I was raised in a single father home, so carrying
Mm-hmm.
the weight is what we was taught. You do anything for your family, um, and that's just the way I was raised. In as we got together, as we grew together, it was it just came natural. We stayed open lines of communications. Don't hide your feelings, and we just want to grow and be the best that we can be in as a couple. I mean, we want to be known as, when you say my name, her name gonna follow. You know, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
no, we want to be that couple.
So the other day I was having a conversation because I was telling someone about the show that we were recording, and so I was like, "Yeah, I'm talking to a dad about the loss of his child." And when I said it, other guys started saying like, "Yeah, I lost a child. I lost," and I was like, "You never hear of men coming forward and saying that they lost a child." To those fellas, what would be your words of wisdom or some advice you could give them about speaking out and sharing their feelings?
It's, to me, speaking out. See, to my understanding, when you speak on your experience, it gives somebody else a chance to, when they go through it, it like taking an open book test. No, this way you might feel different, but the experience gonna be the core gonna be the same. You
Mm-hmm.
might have different adversity doing the experience, but the core gonna be the same. So if we share more of experience, especially an experience like this, when somebody else gotta go through it, it make it that a little bit more easier, and they know they have a support system besides uh, that's out there that's like them, that understand about you had to. be strong and talk to the doctor, take care of your wife, and take care of the other kids while your baby is in the NICU. So and still go to work. So the strength, the strength coming up. That's why God gave us. That's why God gave us each other. And it's up to us to communicate and to work together.
Okay, now, how can a mother, though, because you have Carissa and she's your support, but there's some man who's going through this with his wife right now and he's supportive of her. How can we encourage her to make sure that she checks in on him?
It's communication, and you don't also have to talk about the issue directly. Just spend the time doing things that he wants to do. When he myself, I kind of when I going through stuff, I would block stuff out or tune things out, and just kind of shut. I do a shutdown, and just I can sit in a dark room and just meditate and do a shutdown. Or I would, or during the time when little Derrick was in the hospital, I grew up reading comic books, so I would read graphic novels, and Carissa would ask me about the different superheroes and the stories behind them, and we just talk about them. We'd talk about anything
Hmm.
to relax me, anything to bring us closer. We would talk about.
And so I know that you guys ended up going to counseling. And so there's some woman watching right now. And so I wanted to know, like, what would you recommend as in reference to counseling? Like, because most times guys don't want to go to counseling. They're like, nah, I'm good. I could deal with my feelings at home. Would you recommend that they go to counseling? And how, what can we say to encourage them to do that?
Just do it. Just
I
do
get
whatever it
you.
takes to keep your family in order. You the head. Even if you feel you don't need it, and your wife and kids need it, you do it for them. You do everything God loves. Just do it. It's simple as that. If it comes to a point where your wife or your family need to talk to somebody about something that you can't um, fix, go with them and just do it. Because the more stable your family, your job is to be there for your family to give them what they need. If they need counseling, and it will help you also. So just if she need it, do it and go with her because you might need it also.
You
It's
never
just simple.
know.
Just do it.
You never know. I
Right.
like that. Like Nike is gonna get all the credit. Like just do it. All right. So this episode is a part of my Father's Day series. So I did not put this question in the questionnaire for you, but I'm gonna ask you now, just off the rip. What is your best fatherly advice you've received? Because Emma's what, 6 now? Is she 5 or
Yeah.
6? She's 6.
6.
So what's the best fatherly advice that you've received or given in the last 6 years?
Given. Whew.
I know you ain't expect that one. I like throwing the surprise.
um, take time for yourself. I tell guys that and enjoy your family. You know, people can give each other advice, and like I said, the core is always way good. But you take the core and you put your own spin on it. So it you enjoy your family your way. The principle is the same, but enjoy your family your way. You
I
know.
like that. I like that. Like I like the fact the core. I'm going to use that as something else. Well, Darrick, I want to thank you for coming on this evening and sharing your part of the story because everybody deserves to have their story told. So I want to thank you for coming on today and expressing your half of that story to us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You're
I was
welcome.
a little nervous. This is the first time I ever did this.
Don't be nervous. See, I told Carissa it's just a conversation between me and you, just me asking the questions. So I'm always excited to break people away from their shyness and to get them to open up a little bit. And you did amazing. So I want to thank you again. Hey, hotties, I want to leave you with this note. It's that we in relationships often forget that our partner has a story to tell as well. We only sometimes get consumed and wrapped up into what we want to say, how we feel, and just expressing those emotions. But we have to forget that we have somebody that we're doing life with, and they deserve to have their story told, and they deserve to be heard. Guess what, hotties? You've been tuned in and you've been elevated. Talk to you soon.